Dictation of the Lord. Revenge of enemies from beyond. Says the commander, utterly astounded by the striking truth of Jonael's speech. Yes, I see it clearly now. I desist from my design, and I shall only carry out such things if prompted by you. And as the head of this community, appointed by God Himself, you shall have priority in all things. Henceforth I shall do nothing without your counsel. Jonael, High Priest of the Samaritans, answers, Very well, and worthy of the Lord's delight. Should someone be sick in the body, may corporeal help be provided. Should, however, someone be sick in soul, may he be provided with spiritual help, in accordance with what ails him. The ailments of children's souls can best be cured with properly adjusted correction, where the rod of discipline should not be missing. The ailments of adults' souls, however, are best cured with wise and loving counsel, sterling instruction and education, admonitions solely motivated by pure love, and by drawing attention to the inevitably severe consequences arising shortly from the retention of the soul's weaknesses. Should all of this fail to have an effect, perhaps on incredibly stubborn or utterly blind and deaf souls, only then would it be time to subject such beings to a more strict and severe treatment, which, however, must nonetheless be firmly rooted in brotherly love, whence alone may the blessing of a treatment such as that arise. If, however, the leaders act solely out of anger and a hellish thirst for revenge, then their efforts will be futile. Instead of healing those sick in soul, helping them to become true men, they are transformed into devils, whose vengefulness no power will be able to assuage. Satan may be restrained for a time by the might and force from above, but if the Lord, for the sake of arrogant men who believe that, with their power and wisdom in the form of tyrannical severity, they are capable of preserving the order that suits them, withdraws his might and frees Satan from his shackles, then the power of those who believe themselves ever so mighty will disappear overnight. For the people that were transformed into veritable devils by this twisted treatment will pounce on and utterly annihilate them, as if they had never existed. Above all else, capital punishment has the worst effect. For of what use is it to destroy an individual's body, if one cannot keep his soul and spirit captive, wherein lies the true force, allowing him to act and accomplish things? Whoever believes to have rid himself of his enemy by having merely slain his body is smitten with a blindness of tenfold magnitude. For thereby he has transformed a single weak enemy whom he could see into 1,000 invisible ones, all of which will proceed to persecute him day and night, harming him in body, soul, and even spirit. For instance, consider wars, where not seldom many thousands perish in flesh. The victor, in his blind idea of reality, now believes to have rid himself of his enemies, whose bodies he has destroyed. But oh, what an egregious lapse in judgment this is! The souls and spirits of the slain, as a result of their direct influence on the earth's weather, devastate countless crops for years to come, thereby inevitably driving up the cost of foods, which in turn brings about famine and a myriad of fatal epidemics and pestilence. These, within a short period of time, carry away more people than enemy soldiers had been slain. Now, with both the victor and the power his land should provide him with weakened, in order to preserve his and his people's existence, he must hire mercenaries from foreign lands for a steep price. By doing this, over time, he and his land run into debt. And then, after many years, when he has utterly impoverished his land and his people, and he can no longer afford to pay his debts and soldiers, he will be persecuted and cursed from all sides shortly thereafter. His people, driven by excessive hardship, will rise against him, and the enemies without will not let this opportunity pass by, so they wage war on him. Finally will he, the celebrated victor, never be crowned victor in such a battle, and instead, despair will seize him with the claws of a tiger, savaging him in spirit to the innermost fiber of his life. Behold, the true effects of an enemy slain in flesh alone. In light of this truth, it is an ancient habit and custom that when an individual is soon to perish in flesh, all those close to him make their peace with him and have him bless them. For should he die as someone's enemy, then is he who survives him as his enemy to be pitied. First and foremost, the liberated soul will begin to torment the survivor's mind unceasingly with unbearable pangs of conscience. And thereafter, it will arrange the survivor's earthly circumstances in such a way that he will hardly be able to get ahead in the world. However, the Lord nonetheless allows all of this, so the affronted souls may receive the satisfaction they demand. And besides, it is incalculably more beneficial for the survivor to be tormented in this material world for his arrogance and actions steeped in pride, than for him to promptly fall into the hands of 100,000 hostile spirits after the death of his body. For those spirits would certainly not treat him kindly, as one completely inexperienced in the world beyond. That is why it is ever so imperative to practice love and true friendship in this world, to do good to any enemy instead of harming him, and to bless the one who curses me. For I cannot know when the Lord will call him away from this world. Even if he was my enemy in merely trivial and insignificant matters, thereafter, that is, in spirit, he will be my enemy in matters larger than life. Even since he was a child, David has been a man according to the heart of Jehovah. But against the Lord's will, he had made an enemy for himself, an individual by the name Urias. And, with the Lord's permission, what terrible revenge the spirit of Urias took upon David. This is and will forever remain the ever so certain consequence of a hostile action against any individual, if it is not the will of God. It is, of course, an entirely different matter if the Lord himself bids you do it, as he bade David defeat and physically destroy the Philistines, who had already become satanic enemies of God and men. They are immediately subjected to a severe judgment in the beyond, and they cannot ever rise up against God, for they are humbled by the Lord's might. On the flip side, you have the enemies you made for yourself against God's will, by way of your enmity, possible hubris, or by having incurred the most imperfect, man-devised justice, wherein, as the saying goes, the greatest right and the greatest wrong are one and the same. These individuals will, once they have shed their corporeal forms, become your most irreconcilable enemies. I would bestow upon you 1,000 lives, if I had them. That is, if you could present to me a single content individual who had an enemy precede him into the world beyond. I have not ever come across such a one. Conversely, I do know of some cases where the revenge of a spirit that grew antagonistic towards a family extended to the 10th generation. as well as instances where the inhabitants of a region had been treated with nothing but contempt, and as a result, their spirits proceeded to devastate the region for many years, occasionally even permanently, so that no man could live there any longer. Friend, although this my well-intentioned teaching may sound quite unbelievable to you, it is still of irrefutable truth. And if it were not so, then how could I ever even dare forwarding it to you in the presence of the Lord and his angels? However, should you nonetheless entertain any doubt, do turn to the Lord, the eternal creator of all things, and he will present you with a wholly valid testimony to the absolute truth of what I have made known to you today.